therapy call.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my book club stream. And I see to the podcast listeners, we are being rated by Kit Boga, who is one of the most, I would say, talented artists on Twitch. If you don't know the brilliance of Kit Boga, he takes scam artists who are trying to bilk people out of their hard-earned money, and more often than not, take advantage of elderly people. And he pretends to be a person that is being scammed, but like stretches it out and turns it back on them in such a brilliant way. I was able to do an episode. And Kit, can you please ask me back? Because it was literally one of the most fun performances I've ever done in my life. Bonnie Burton is with me. She is my co-host for my Felicitations Book Club. You want to say hi, Bonnie?
Hi. Can you hear me okay? Because I realized I forgot to plug in my fancy Yeti microphone. So this is just regular laptop microphone.
I'm going to turn you up a little bit just so we don't have any balance issues, but I think you're fine. It's just, you get what you get, y'all. You get what you get.
I'm sorry. I should have remembered. I always forget to put in the fancy microphone. So sorry about that, everyone.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. We are going to be discussing until the top of the hour, 2:00 Pacific. We're going to be discussing Final Girls by Riley Sager, and then I'm going to be doing a 2-hour stream of Fallout New Vegas, which I happen to do a voice in. So if you guys want to stick around, discuss a book you haven't read, you will be spoiled. But actually, this one, there is a spoilery thing, but I kind of knew what was happening a little bit all along, but at the same time, I loved it. So, and I don't normally read psychological thriller. I do not read horror, and this is the combination thereof. And it's pretty obvious it was a Bonnie Burton pick because she is a horror goth expert. And
I mean,
yeah.
I try not to pick anything that's too gory when we dip our toes into horror or thriller, because I know that you don't like that. And I'm trying my very best to slowly bring you into my world of death and mayhem and horror and thrillers. As much as I can, because when we had our other book club show, Vaginal Fantasy Romance Book Club show, whenever it was my turn to pick a book, I always picked a monster, like a creature feature romance.
Yeah.
Like I always tried to pick a horror romance, kind of like I guess at the time, it didn't come out until much, much later, but kind of like a Lisa Frankenstein-esque, rom-com. I think we did Cthulhu erotica. I was always trying to push the boundary.
You're trying to mix me up. I don't care. If it doesn't have a tavern, it's not for me. I'm not kidding. I'm just kidding. But
I mean, I did try to pick tavern rom-coms with creature features.
You did?
Duh.
No. We cover a variety of books from self-help to romance to
here we do everything.
Fantasy.
Here we do everything.
Yeah, we do a little bit. We are unfocused, as is my career, and I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay.
As is my brain. So, though I do have to say, I love a final girl trope, which is a movie trope in horror film movies of the girl who survives a massacre or a horror situation where she's the only survivor. That's what the term final girl
Which I didn't even know before, because I have watched a total of 2 horror films in my whole life.
It's like Sidney Prescott, played by the amazingly talented Neve Campbell, who was robbed of an Oscar. I think drag queen Trixie Mattel and I both think she should have gotten Oscars for any and all the Scream movies that she was in. But her trope was that obviously she survived. She's the survivor of the Scream movie franchise, like every Scream movie that she's in, that she's the survivor in. So, which also flips every horror film trope on its side. If you have not watched the Scream movies, I highly recommend them. But this book is very much, I wouldn't say it's like Scream. If you want something more like that, the other book I was going to recommend, but we already have read Grady Hendrix' horror books, which
that was a really good one. I mean, that one was my first horror film. I've read other things, but I haven't read a horror book like that in a while. And I don't think I actually ever have.
I mean, you can look at our index of our past episodes, but we did I think it was How to Sell a Haunted House.
That's it. That's the one we read that I was like, ugh, creepy dolls. Please get me out of here.
He did write a book about final girls that's sort of similar to this, called The Final Girl Support Group, which is a lot more funny and tropey. And I think I might have confused the two books, and I was going to recommend that, but then I realized, wait, we can't just read Grady Hendrix every time I pick a book because he's got a lot of great books. My best friend's Exorcism's great. Horror Shop, I think, is about, it takes place in an IKEA, a haunted IKEA. So he has like a lot of really, and it also, he has like, I love that book specifically because there's diagrams, like a put together IKEA cabinet diagram that is very funny. So if you like funny horror, I highly recommend Grady Hendrix.
I would dive into that IKEA one when we go back to, we
well,
get back
it's called,
to Grady Hendrix one day.
I think it's called Horror Shop and has like umlauts on it on the title. Like it's making fun of IKEA for sure. It was supposed to be a TV show or a movie. I don't know what happened with it, as with
as with everything that gets in development. I will tell you that I had a panic attack one time in an IKEA that I had to sit under the cutlery table and kind of like breathe for like 15 minutes because I was late for an audition and I didn't know if you enter IKEA, you must go through the exit.
Yes.
And there's only one of them.
They hide them. They hide the exits from you. It's not an easy, I mean, here's the thing. I had the same problem. I went, when I first moved here, a friend and I went to the one in I think it's in Burbank, and I could not find the exit. It feels like you're in a basement because there's no windows. So it feels like you're in a basement at all. It feels like you're in a tornado like drill at all times because there's no windows. It's very disorientating. The lighting is tricky. They do it to get you to go through.
They do it so you will go through every single section. I understand it. You must walk the IKEA maze to escape. It's
a great premise for a horror film. If you can't find the exit, what happens if you get stuck there? What happens if there's, I mean, I don't even know what would happen. I mean, I don't want to jinx this, but we do live in a country that has mass shootings daily. I would be horrified if there was any kind of shooter situation in an IKEA.
You just pitched a horrible
I'm getting this video demonetized real quick talking about any of this, but
I just write it, Bonnie.
I might. I mean, I'm in the middle of writing a couple horror screenplays, like 2 horror books, and horror short story and horror comic. And so I've got murder walls all over my apartment because that's how I write books. Is I have like a wall of notes. And so anyone ever broke in here while I'm on vacation in Kansas, visiting my family, it's gonna look like I'm a spree killer or something, or serial killer.
I don't know if I would,
maybe like a wrong, like detective.
Would they take things, or would they slowly back out because they don't want to be?
I think they would slowly back out because here's the thing. My apartment has many skeletons, as you can see in the background. Those are just a few. It always looks like a cross between Pee-wee's Playhouse, a natural history museum with all the taxidermy, a witch supply store because I have Ouija boards. I collect Ouija boards. They're everywhere. I feel like if someone broke in here, they'd be fascinated, but then slowly horrified as they try. And also, all my technology is super old, so you're not going to get any money for it. Yeah. My clothes are not fashionable. You're not going to make money on Depop or something. So you're basically going into the lair of a crazy individual. And I will say it's very organized, so it's not a hoarder's house.
And it's not a hoarder house. It does feel like something you do, like a monthly seance thing, or it feels like you definitely charge to be in there to do something nefarious.
It's like an escape room. I mean, there's a library back there. That's 4 of 23 bookcases I have in my apartment, and I also, it's a weird. And I collect creepy dolls. I collect creepy ventriloquist puppets, so you can see one of my many.
Taxidermy is what bothers me. Does that smell? The taxidermy.
No. Taxidermy, I mean, it depends. If you have vintage taxidermy from, like, I don't know, Victorian era or something, it might. But for the most part, I mean, none of my taxidermy smells because it's either brand new or of this era, right? Or I just also take really good care of it. I come from the Midwest where taxidermy was standard. I mean, now it's like whimsical, violin playing squirrels and stuff. But deer heads, bobcats, all of that stuff. My jackalopes, all my
You're
uncle
in an apartment in Los Angeles. You have to scale down to rodents. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, which I do collect. So I have rodents in different cosplay costumes. So like I have everything you can imagine or you think I might have. But if you broke in, and also I have a sword collection. I have knives hid everywhere. Daggers and knives hid everywhere in my apartment. So if anyone breaks in while I'm here.
Do not break into Bonnie's apartment. Let's just really
I have weapons
this.
everywhere. I think most single girls living alone should do that. Just so, not as a This is a precaution that you have. I wouldn't recommend guns, but like if you have knives or something sharp at least, a pair of scissors.
For sure.
Just so you
You should
know.
have flashlights and
Yeah,
defense objects
defense.
that aren't
Yeah, I mean,
necessarily firearms around.
yeah, I mean, I also have like a mannequin hand that's got fake nails on it. That's probably more
You could
deadly
like
than.
stab with that. Come on.
Yeah, you can. I mean, so I think that's just protect yourself living alone. If you, I live kind of in a not so great area of LA, so it's like but also
I have
I
to
don't live
tell
in
you though,
fear.
I'm a little like I knock on wood, I haven't I've
Mm,
only had my catalytic converter stolen, but living in LA this long, I have never had like a break-in or something, but I have spoken to over 7 people just this month have had home robberies, their car jacked or like their windows broken out or it
yeah,
is like I don't know, is there like a crime surge in the city?
smash and grabs are always going to be a huge thing in LA. It doesn't matter if you live in the valley or if you live downtown. It doesn't matter. I think in San Francisco, I know they have a special name for that glass. It's called, I think it's called San Francisco Snow. Now is the ice from, or it's called San Francisco Ice. That's what it is,
Jesus.
from broken car windows that people are just smashing, using sledgehammers to smash through. I have a quaint mix of gang activity and tweakers and I would say a lot of, not a ton of encampments, but enough that usually encampments, sometimes, not always, because there's no one set kind of homeless. There's crime just because of survival. They just need
No,
to
I
make money
know.
or
It's a really bad situation
it's
across
really
the
sad.
country.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I try to have compassion, but here's the thing: if you break into my home, my refrigerator is full of beverages. I don't cook, so good luck with that. I have a lot of taxidermy, a lot of witchy crystals and stuff.
Listen,
I have a lot of.
I need definite I feel like I saged the house when I moved in, but that was a long time ago. I need to resage or something.
I mean, do you also? I have security cams everywhere, inside, pointing out of my apartment and into it. So when I get bored at night when I can't sleep, I just log into my security cam footage
Just
to
to
just
check it
like.
out, just see what's going on.
Yeah, that's when I found out there was a coyote in the neighborhood because it like triggered my outside.
My other
Like,
friend had a home invasion of a raccoon who literally got through the
yeah, that's the other thing.
the
It's not
dog
always
door.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
they were
not
going
always
through some
dog owners.
Oreos. They were like opening a bag and
The
Oreos, and I
thing,
was like, "That's a bold raccoon."
I pet sit for all my friends. I'm available, Felicia, as you know. But I pet sit for all my friends, and all my friends live better than I do. So they all have different security situations
Mhm.
going on. But they also all have dog doors, and I've told them repeatedly. It doesn't matter if they're in Sherman Oaks, Burbank, Hancock Park, downtown Eagle Rock, whatever. If there is a dog door, something's going to get through it, and it may not be human. It may be a squirrel, a rat, a
I know.
raccoon.
That's
Something that's
why,
like,
yeah. Yeah. I have a dog door, but it
so,
only opens. It's like really firmly shut until the
mhm,
dog with the Wi-Fi collar goes near it, and it has to be super near it. So, it's the safest one I could find, but I'm not, I
yeah,
want the dog to see her way out. I'm not administering this. I
yeah.
have a child. The less I have to take care of, the better. Dog, be an independent being.
Yeah.
Just get out.
My dog was like that too. I had a dog door in San Francisco. We were right by Golden Gate Park. That's when I found out raccoons were stealing stuff from me because my dog just didn't chase them. So the raccoon, and it wasn't a dog door. I just had the sliding door open when I was at work at Lucasfilm during the day. My dog could go in and out to the backyard. And that was a more nicer time when you didn't have to really
That was a
worry
nicer
about
time in
home
San
invasions
Francisco.
as
You
much.
probably would not want to do that right now.
I mean, you'd have to climb a lot of stairs to get to my. Anyway, so that's when I was like, "Is there a raccoon or something?" And I remember I set up some sort of old timey webcam motion detector, and I found out the raccoon was just stealing every time all the dog food because I was like, "My dog eats a lot during the day." No, there's a raccoon eating all the
I mean,
dog
they're
food.
smart,
So I was
man.
like, "Oh, okay.
And they're
Well, I
really,
guess I
you know
guess
what? Raccoons are terrifying and adorable at the same time, just like
I
we are.
know." You just described everyone I dated, so there.
I mean, I've seen a raccoon tear, like, I've seen a corpse of a cat that a raccoon tore into.
They
So
have sharp, razor sharp
they are
fingers. They are
not,
not adorable.
they're survivors. That's what they are.
I mean, I was always worried about my neighbors who would get the college kids that would get super stoned and then have a picnic outside in their backyard that was adjacent to mine. And I would see a family of raccoons go by and they're like, "Oh my God, so cute." And they would try to hug them or try to like take a Vine
People
video
are
or Periscope or
ridiculous. Like, I see people all the time trying to take selfies with things you should not be taking selfies. Stop
these,
it.
these are wild creatures that could have rabies. They could just skin you alive. They could, I mean, it is a real thing. And
Skin us
I mean,
alive. I don't know. Whew.
well,
I
well,
mean,
well,
listen,
I mean, eh,
possibly.
there's your TikTok for the day. If you can do a search of raccoons skin you alive. No, don't do that search. But anyway, getting back to the book. But I did want to say this is the highlight of my month. I'm glad that we're doing this.
Yeah,
Tail
and
end
we
of
read a good
May.
book. So let's talk about the book a little bit. It's Riley Sager, Final Girls,
Oh yeah.
and it was not what I expected
Okay.
because it is like a really well thought out psychological thriller. There is
Yeah.
a little bit of horror in it, but it's more of like a character study in a woman who survived a horrible massacre and
Sure.
suppressed the memories of it. And
Hmm.
she has a connection to other women who have been in her same position, two other women. And it turns out that one of them, I mean, we're going to spoil this book for you. So if you
Do you
don't
want me
want,
to read the back of the book? Do you
yeah,
want me
why
to
don't
read
you
the
read the
back?
back of the book? Thank you for getting the physical copy of the book too.
Oh, I have to do physical. I don't like digital books. They don't make me feel like I have accomplished anything unless I have a
I
physical
know,
book.
but I read so many Kindle
I know
Unlimited
you're a
RPG. That's all
reader.
I do anymore. It's
Yeah,
just
you
really
read like
bad.
what, 20 books a month? I read one book a month and this is it. So, okay. 10 years ago, college student Quincy Carpenter went on vacation with 5 friends and returned alone. In an instant, she became a member of a club that no one wants to belong to, a group of similar survivors known in the press as the Final Girls. Lisa, who lost 9 sorority sisters to a college dropout's knife, Sam, who went up against the sack man during her shift at the Nightlight Inn, and now Quincy, our main character, who ran bleeding through the woods to escape what she called him, like all caps him. Despite the media's attempt, none of these women meet. Now Quincy is doing well, maybe even great, thanks to her Xanax prescription. That is a very problematic sentence. I'm just going to add right in there. No one's doing great if they have to pop a ton of Xanax, but that's just my little. Okay. She has a caring, almost fiance, Jeff, who is a defense lawyer, a therapeutic presence in Coop, the police officer who saved her life all those years ago. Her memory won't even allow her to recall the events of that night. The past is in the past. That is until Lisa, the one that was who was the final girl from the sorority sisters massacre, is found dead in her bathtub, wrist slit, and Sam appears on Quincy's doorstep, intent on making Quincy relive the past. Sam is the other final girl. Okay, and when new details about Lisa's death comes to light, Quincy's life becomes a race against time as she tries to unravel Sam's truths from her lies and remember what actually happened at Pine Cottage before what was started 10 years ago is finished. So here's the thing. So this is, just to boil it down into like easy speak, it's our main character, Quincy. She survived a brutal killing of all of her friends. She's in kind of like this weird group of final girls that the media
She was
have
grouped
called.
them to, yeah, she grouped them together, but she wasn't really friends with them. They were grouped
No,
together.
this is why it got problematic for my brain because I was getting it mixed up with Grady Hendrix's group called a book called The Final Girl Support Group, where they did know each other.
Oh, they're two versions. Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting. They're two
so
different books, kind of about
so
the
there's an
same thing.
yeah. So Grady Hendrix's book, it's an actual support group. They're not a support group. They've never met. It's 3 different situations, 3 different women, but they've all
Yeah, I
been
mean,
dubbed as the
she
final.
talked on the phone with Lisa, the one who was
Correct, but
killed
they
or
never.
killed herself.
Yeah,
Um,
so they find so basically Lisa, who she did talk on the phone with Lisa.
yeah.
Lisa was found in her bathtub dead. Originally, people think it's a suicide because here's the thing: trauma is real. Just because something bad happened in your past and you think you've dealt with it and you have a Xanax prescription, which by the way, I still find that problematic sentence.
Wait,
It doesn't mean
why?
that
Why?
you're
Do you have a
healed.
problem with Xanax? Oh, sorry.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I'm not. Medication is good for a lot of people. I highly recommend it. I personally, when I found out I was ADHD, I'm on Vyvanse. I don't know if it's making me a better listener, less talk fast, hyper girl, or whatever that I'm usually. I was on Adderall for a while. That didn't really do anything for me. If you have actual ADHD, Adderall and Vyvanse are just supposed to help you focus and keep your constant chatter in your brain a little less chattery, but it's not a magic pill that fixes things. If you don't have ADHD, it's just meth. It's just speed. That's why so many people abuse Adderall, is because it helps you focus.
Yeah, but what is it? Because I actually have a Xanax prescription, and I use it very, very sparingly.
Well, no, that's fine, and you can have a Xanax prescription. My problem is if you have trauma and you're basically blanketing your trauma with any kind of drug, whether it's prescription or not, you're not really dealing with the trauma. You're just squishing it down, which is not advisable. So that's why I was like, and in this book,
I mean, she definitely, she can't even uncover her trauma. It's all blacked out, but really, it's blacked out because she has these guilty feelings because she thinks the past happened in a way that it was her fault.
Yeah,
which
and also the book
undercover as it goes on.
Sure.
Not necessarily. It's very well plotted, you know. It has a lot of twists and turns about like who you're suspecting and who is really bad, but then also they're not really bad, but they were bad in the situation. And then it's very interesting because her memory is uncovered as the story goes on, and then you have sort of her figuring herself out, but then you also have the other plot of the current woman and who killed her, or how was she killed? Is she a suicide? You know.
Yeah, the way I will say this about Riley Shakespeare because he writes a lot, and I like the way he writes. It's a slow burn.
Very slow burny. Yeah.
Yeah, if you like that kind of slow burn reveal, if you like nonstop action, this may not be the author for you. I've read other reviews of this book where people had said, "Oh, it's boring," and blah blah blah. It's like, well, yeah, but if you are used to books that are fast paced, you're probably not gonna like this type of book. I liked it because
it's like a psychological analysis of a person. It felt like to me, the one criticism I will have about it did feel like it was written to be adapted to a movie. You know, it did have sort of like this sort of, I'm watching a movie. These are the women. I could see the kind of people they cast, but not in a really like, I want to see the movie way. I'm like, well, I got it. You know, I liked the book a lot and I enjoyed the depth with which the characters were, but it felt so like perfectly plotted almost. It did feel almost like a movie to me, which a good and bad thing, you know?
Yeah, and also it's his debut book. So I think a lot of debut novels, especially in this genre of thriller, of horror, very much are like that. I think we've done that a lot where we've read someone's first book ever.
Yeah.
I get it. It's an outline. It's, you know.
I'll be there. My first book will be the same thing. You know, it's just like a little too careful. A little too careful, right?
Well, that's why you have beta readers. That's why you have people that will read the book that have nothing to do with you or not nothing to do with you, but aren't editor. Yeah, that's why that's good to have friends. And I will gladly volunteer to read whatever you write if you want.
It'll never get done at this point, but okay.
It will. But here's the thing: I write a lot of horror that never sees the light of day because I will find that I would be like, oh, it's too predictable, or oh, it's too tropey, or oh, it's too outliney, or it sounds too much like a movie or TV. Sadly, we do live in an era where people have to think of those things when they write, even just to get published.
No, it's true. It's totally true, you know? And it's a balance between like, does this plot feel comfortable to me? Does it feel well put together? And then is it too clean? Is it not a little bit messy in a surprising way? Because certain characters in this book, including the ultimate bad guy, and then the decoy bad guy, you knew that something was up, you know? Like, it wasn't oh, that's a normal relationship. Yeah.
When did you think you figured it out?
I thought the first scene. First scene with the guy who ultimately ended up being the bad guy, I was like, there was something in his characterization that felt almost cold and analytical, but then I was surprised. Then I was like, oh no, this other character is the bad guy. But then they did turn out to be the bad guy, but not the ultimate bad guy. So like I knew that the characters as introduced there was something going on, but I didn't
Yeah.
know exactly. So I
Yeah.
was pleasantly surprised, but I wasn't like, oh no, I didn't see that coming. But like, am I ever going to be like that? Because I'm a writer and I've
I
seen a
think
lot of
also,
TV.
yeah, you're an actor too, so you
Yeah.
pick up on certain things that maybe most readers wouldn't. I mean, I think this is a detriment. This is the problem for us as creatives, as writers, directors, actors, game designers, because I write a lot of murder mystery games. I my love for murder mysteries started at a very early age when I think I was 7 or 8. I was reading Agatha Christie and Ed
I was
McBain
the same
and
way.
Sherlock,
I read
like
all the Perry Masons.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like, but these were my dad's books, right?
Yeah.
I was just trying to make a connection to my dad because I wasn't into sports. I was a weirdo. So that's how I connected to my dad, was reading his murder mystery books. And to this day, I got him like BritBox for Christmas last year. So like we love British murder mystery series, detective shows. I'm a huge fan. But if you watch enough detective shows, if you write enough murder mysteries, if you're a consumer or a fan of any of this stuff, if you're an actor, you tend to look for who the killer is right off the bat. And usually, especially in TV, for me, if it's TV, I know if it's a well-known actor, that's got to be the killer, because no well-known actor is going to be a side chick or a side character. They want a juicy part. They either want the victim or the killer.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Or someone who's wrongly convicted or something. But you always have to have a red herring character that you think, and I think in this series, this book, you didn't know if it was Samantha. So you didn't know if it was Sam, the weirdo that shows up on Quincy's doorstep.
Yeah, I just hated her. I was like, Quincy, what are you doing letting this girl in your house? What are you doing?
First of all, and this happens, by the way, in so many horror films too, where I'm like, do you want to die? Like, I'm always like,
I was
stupid.
so
I can't even
mad.
answer for Postmates.
Don't let a stranger in your house ever. Like, I don't care if you're related to them. Don't let them in. I don't want people at my house.
No, especially if they have had past trauma, because you also don't know how that's affected them. And that was an interesting part of the book with Quincy, our main character. Sam comes to her and says, look, I don't, I want to figure out what's really happened. I know you've blacked out a lot of your stuff, but, I think, there's other things. But she was really tapping into Quincy's hidden trauma and turning it into vigilantism, almost like wanting her to go on these treks of, like, by the way, she beat this poor dude.
Yeah,
that was
I don't know,
acting.
Man. Yeah, you need to go to jujitsu class, Quincy. Like, I don't know, man. Things go.
I love. My favorite. I mean, I don't like rape revenge movies because I don't like sexual assault as a premise of anything. But I do love vigilante movies and books where women are like, I'm not taking this anymore. I think Dietland is a great book. That maybe
what about that? What about that movie with the what's her face, Carrie Mulligan?
Pretty Young. Was it Pretty Young Things or not Pretty Young Things?
Amazing movie, and it's so well done in every way.
It was that where she's a vigilante. There's a ton of vigilante books like this, or movies,
but I love that. Like, I don't know.
But if you're gonna be a vigilante,
I don't know.
You want to make sure the people that you are beating into a coma might, I don't know, deserve it. Just because somebody's acting sketchy doesn't mean they deserve to be put in the hospital.
Let me catch the audience up. So basically, the 3 women, one of them commits suicide, quote unquote. Quincy is like thrown outside her door. She meets the other girl, who is a final girl, and this woman infiltrates herself into Quincy's world, starts taking her down the wrong tracks. Riley ends up almost beating a man to death in the park. Then she gets tangled up. Sam turns out to be not a good person. Then it's revealed there are secrets there, that maybe the identity is not the same. It's very complicated and violent, but also I was like, what are you doing? I was just like, you're screaming at the girl in the horror film who's like, I'm going to go out by myself in the woods and skip at night. This is what she was doing. She was being a final girl again, in that she was following this woman down these horrible paths. Her boyfriend, which I'm sorry. Okay, so
Talk about him.
Quincy's boyfriend, what's his name? Joe I can't remember his name. But
Uh,
he's a
oh gosh,
lawyer. He is
he's a defense lawyer.
he's very caring. He's very
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
He's considerate. He's like a public defender. And like there's this whole trope that I really hate, that the nice guy is too boring for the main character and she needs to get with the but
What's the
it
point?
frustrates me.
There was the point though where he's like, get over it. Like that was like, dude, don't don't be like your past is your past. Like if you have trauma that
True.
stays with you,
He was very much like, bury your past. I admire you for
yeah,
not letting
it's
this
like
hold you back.
move on.
Yeah.
And it's
True.
like when people say that, that irritates me because clearly they've never had trauma. I think a lot of us have had trauma on some level that, people, or even like depression or anxiety, where people who don't have the same situation will be like, well, just cheer up, or just, go exercise or get your mind off of it, or you can't. So when you have trauma, you have to delve into that with therapy or something, but you can't just be like, get over it. That's not, you can't oh my God, I can't say the word. Departmentalize? No,
Compartmentalize?
that. You can't do that with trauma because trauma is in your skin, it's in your body. Your body remembers trauma. Even if you blacked out all the memories, your body knows what happens.
Yeah.
Eventually, you will find out. And I think with this, because she didn't have all the pieces of the trauma, of all of the incident of her survival, it wasn't something she could replay in her mind and make sense of it. And as you're reading the book, you get these flashbacks. Also, you find out what's the deal with her? Like maybe she did it because
Well, I thought that was
rest-
really interesting. Yeah, there are all these little red herrings and breadcrumbs throughout this, and
Sure.
honestly, it's worth the read.
Yeah.
I was like, what is the past stuff was the thing that really um I was surprised, and I was
Yeah.
enjoying the revelation because she's learning it at the same
Yeah.
time you, the audience, are learning it, which I really thought was
Yeah.
clever. And then it kind of goes around and ties back into, I mean, of course, any mystery, you're like, oh, there's only 5 characters. One of those guys has to be the bad guy. So was it her boyfriend? Was it the cop who's her friend? Is it this woman? Is it the reporter? There's only a handful of people that could be the bad guy. And at the end of the day, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But that's only you like knowing that, it could have been the mom. The mom and her have a very weird relationship as well. It's really sad that she's so estranged from her mother, that her
You
mother.
find out her best friend who died was a jerk.
Yeah.
Not that her best friend deserved to die, but her best friend was a jerk. Her best friend was a mean
Who
girl.
was like murdered in the incident. Yeah, she was on a camping vacation with these people, and that's why someone went crazy and killed everybody.
It's also like it was betrayal. Like basically she wanted to lose her virginity to some dude. It didn't happen. She discovers that her best friend screws this dude instead.
Yeah, and then there's this
that
guy
level
who's wandering away from a mental hospital, and you think he did it. Turns out, maybe not.
Maybe not, because if you look at the evidence, like all these people were stabbed, and the detective that shot him, that guy Joe did not have a knife on him. Like, so where's the knife? And also, there's just a lot of different. I personally, and as a writer, I do this all the time with books. If I don't necessarily like who the killer is revealed to be, I'm like, well, I've done it this way. I would have liked it if her boyfriend was the killer. That might be a little too Lifetime movie for some of them. But I thought, yeah, but wouldn't it be cool if a defense lawyer was actually
That's who
a killer?
I was hoping, because I would have been most surprised about him being the bad guy, because it's the least likely. But I was a little sus of him, but then not so sus where I was like, I'm going to be disappointed. Whereas the real bad guy, I was like, yeah, some of the character, I kind of felt like that was very off. But at the same time, it was a fun ride to go on. And you can always say, I told you so at the end afterwards. I don't know if you asked me halfway through the book whether I would have been able to pinpoint it or not.
The idea of, I like an unreliable narrator, which is Quincy. I like that the book is split into third person with the flashbacks and herself as, I liked how it was a dual timeline. And like you said, you're finding out details as the main character is. So it's not like stuff that she doesn't. So you feel like you're in her shoes. She's problematic. She's not the perfect victim survivor. she's got violent tendencies.
Mhm.
She trusts the wrong people constantly. And I think that is
Well, she has
something
really bad instincts when it comes to people. You know what I'm saying? I
bad,
was like, "Girl, what are you
but
doing?"
it's a good reminder not all survivors are smart. Sometimes it's luck.
True.
Sometimes it's the killer decides you're going to survive. It's not because you were smart enough to do A, B, C, and D. It's the killer decides. So I think that's why I like this book a lot as a beginner into this type of trope because it's not too flippant. It has some twists and turns.
Mhm.
It's a slow burn.
It
You're not
is.
sure what's happening.
And it's very psychological in that it really dives into the characters. And I really thought the writer was really good in characterizing the characters. I felt like they were
Yeah.
believable as people. Some of Quincy's behavior was a little off and felt like, oh, wow, she's going down a path that I don't know would if I would have predicted that. But then, it's a fun ride. I would definitely recommend it. And as someone who I just don't read the genre, I don't know if I jump into this genre and read way more because I'm just too busy reading fantasy. But at the end of the day, it was really good and I enjoyed it. And I read it. I didn't even speed read it. I really read it in a way.
Wow.
Yeah, which I
Did you
always
do regular or did you do audiobook?
I did it on my phone because I can't do, audiobooks. It depends on the narrator, but I read so fast that I get very much like, let's go, and I'll listen to it like 2 times speed. But then often the narrator's voice doesn't sound good like that, so it's kind of
It sounds
hard for
like a
me.
chipmunk. Yeah, it sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks. If I can't, and also my brain doesn't work that way. So if I listen to something, I'll start doing other things, and I won't pay attention to what I'm supposed to be listening to.
Uh
Like I
huh.
can listen to podcasts, but podcasts aren't as detailed in a way as unless it's scripted podcasts, right? It's not.
Yeah,
It's not the same as reading.
scripted podcasts are made for performance, and I, for some reason, can listen to those.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of them to study for Third Eye, and I continue to listen to them because I'm like, oh, I enjoy the performance of it. And fully acted out audiobooks, I really enjoy as well. But for me, I am more relaxed when I speed read, and that requires just reading really fast. And I just like to
So
sort
can I ask?
through a book.
I've never asked you this. I've always been curious. What is your reading setup like? Do you like to read in bed? Do you like to read at your desk? Or do you need a coffee? Do you need certain music in the
No, no,
background?
no.
Like how?
I read before bed for a half hour to an hour, and it's after I take a bath and I put the kid to bed, and that is my relaxation time before night night. If I'm on the road, I try to stay off social media and read on my phone as well. But I do bring my Kindle with me because I like to read on my Kindle right before bed because I feel like I sleep better not reading
Hmm.
on my phone. So I do enjoy my digital reading, but I've been reading real books lately because I have so many by my bed, and I feel like my sleep is much better not having any device in the bedroom. So there you go.
Some science behind that. I know you don't want to be on your phone or on a laptop right before bed because of the frame rate is a
Yes,
digital.
I know, I read that.
Yeah, it messes up your REM. So digital will always do that. So you have to be very careful not to do that. I think Kindle is made specially, or a lot of those tablet readers are made specially, so it's not as bright. The
Yeah,
font
and you
is
can warm it up. And I do notice if you can warm it after 7 p.m., you can go in your Apple settings on the iPhone and be like, oh, you could have a setting for after 7. And I made it warmer, as warm
yeah.
as possible. And I dim it down to as much as I can. And it really, really does help. But at the
I
end of
mean,
the day, real books will always be better.
that's my default on my phone is at the largest font possible, which is funny because I used to make fun of that in movies, and now I'm like, now I'm that person that needs a large font, and I have it as the dimmest possible setting as a default, unless I take a photo or a video and I need it to be brighter so I know what's more realistic.
Yeah.
But I love a physical book, and also I try to read right before bed because it kind of, and I listen to like different types of things. So I'll listen to a rainstorm background noise, or I'll listen to like kind of like a beta. I don't know how you explain it. It's like music you would listen to for meditation. I try not to listen to anything with lyrics
Yeah.
because that'll get into my brain. It'll confuse my brain into what I'm reading. So I tend to do that. It's less light. So it's not candlelight. I need light in order to read, but
Yeah.
I do try to do that. And also, but I'm a binger of TVs and of TV shows. So I have to be careful not to do that with books that are suspenseful, because then I'll want to read the entire book in one sitting.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy for your
I
eyes.
mean, no, I do it, but it's only.
I do too. I do too.
I don't like
Maybe
it. Sometimes I'll just get like so anxious and into it. I'm like, I can't stop. I can't
Well, I
stop.
want to know. I know what happens if I do it. I can't leave things on a cliffhanger, and also I have such a bad memory. I don't want to forget key things when I go back to the book, I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
So and also I'm dyslexic, so it takes me a little bit longer to just read anything.
Yeah. Well, that's why audiobooks are awesome. And somebody in the chat just said 1.5 to 175 is reasonable. And yes, 100%. I have listened to many books like that, especially when I'm on the elliptical, which I did 15 minutes today. I know I'm not fancy, but I was trying to get writing done today. I posted a picture from last week that I took that was very attractive, but I was not writing like that this morning. Just for the record, I forgot to post that picture last week, and I did it today, and I'm a faker. Social media is not real, y'all. Or at least
It's
doesn't
really
happen
not.
exact. And also, TV is not filmed the day before it goes up.
No, all things are filmed out of order, just so you know. Like I mean, I shouldn't have to say this, but even reality TV is not real. I mean, I call it reality TV.
It's all fake. It's all fake, y'all. They give them lines. It's completely faked.
I am addicted to the
House
Valley.
Hunters is a complete fake. They're already living in one of the houses.
Well, I will say there is a all gay ghost hunters group show on Hulu. What's it called? I can't remember. Chat might know. I tweet about it all the time. But it's gay ghost hunters, which I love. Being queer, part of the queer community myself, but also I love it because it feels like the closest thing we're gonna get to what we do in the shadows, but it's like real people that are just goth and gay and doing ghost hunting.
Yeah.
But it's very funny. And also there's a trans ghost hunter she's fascinating to me. I love her so much. So I love that. But when it comes to reality TV like Vanderpump Rules or Real Housewives,
I can't even with the Vanderpump. I don't understand who these people are. My friend is wonderful, and she's obsessed with the show, and she has a newsletter. And whenever I see the word Vanderpump, I'm like, bump.
I need to subscribe to this because I'm addicted to it ever since the Real World. I mean, I did the Real World fan site when fan sites were beginning. When the internet was beginning, I was doing all the Real World stuff. I almost got on it twice. I dated 2 people from the Real World, and I almost got on Road Rules, but I decided to back out last minute because they wanted to make the fact that I couldn't swim into a storyline where I would almost die. And I'm like, I'm not. And that was like in the 90s. That was in the 90s, y'all. That was like the beginning of reality TV. I think Survivor and Cops were the only things that were out besides that. And I'm like, I'm not that desperate for attention to die to get on, literally die to be on a TV show. So I said no, but I've always been fascinated with reality TV. I think the thing with reality TV now, though, is it's so ingrained into our psyche, whether it's a dating show, a challenge show, a test show. You've been a judge on Nailed It. You understand that some of these reality TV shows are more contestant fun things and not necessarily dive into your life.
Like celebrating making things. I think that's fun. I don't like it when we're have pseudo human interactions that we're projecting on, and we think that this relationship or love is real. It's complete BS, guys.
If you are going to put your toe into reality TV, Drag Race is always my favorite because it's all my favorite things, which is, LGBTQ community, but also it is Project Runway in a way where you have to make everything, but also you have to perform, but also you have to do it's also comedy, but it's also touching because it's especially nowadays talking about how it's illegal to be a drag queen or even just illegal to show that you're gay in some parts of the United States. So I love that, but I will say I do like watching reality TV, not because it's real, but because I escape from my own reality. So reality TV is like, it should be called Escape from Reality TV, not reality TV, but, and I like any reality TV that has a horror twist. So like the Boulay Brothers, which is kind of like the goth Drag Race.
Yeah.
I love that. So I don't know. And I love ghost hunter shows mainly to make fun of the ghost hunters though, because especially some of them are very ghost bros where they're trying to intimidate or bully the ghost into existence,
Yeah.
where they're like, come get me, man. Like in that case, I always wish a
Well,
ghost would just juice them and push them down the stairs, but it'll never happen.
yeah. All right. Well,
Anyway,
we have done a wonderful book club, and we're going to recommend Riley Sager's Final Girls, correct?
yeah, I would say, and also look at his other books. He's got quite a few. And I think maybe this is a detriment or not, or maybe it's impressive. I think he wrote this book in 9 weeks. Like it was pretty
Stop
fast
it.
that he wrote
I
it.
don't want to hear that.
So
I don't like that.
that might explain the outline situation. But yeah, I would highly, and also I highly recommend the Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix if you like this kind of genre of thriller.
Okay. So I have two books that we could decide from tomorrow. And people are saying in the chat that the audio is not good. I'm not sure whose audio, but I can.
Mine.
Is it yours?
God, I hope not.
I hope not. Anyway, we'll fix it when I start my stream. But audio listeners, I'm so sorry.
Well, here's the thing. If this is your first time viewing, it's kind of a tradition to have technical issues. It's my fault for not plugging in my Yeti this time. Also, we're doing something slightly new with how we're shooting this. We're not using Twitch and Discord like we usually do. So I don't know if that maybe.
I don't think so. I think this is fine. I think it was just breaking up. It's fine. Okay, so I have to. Okay, I got this book in England. It is available here. You can get it on the Kindle or in hardback. It's called Storyland. It's by Amy Jeffs, and it's a beautiful reinterpretation of medieval British history according to medieval British people. So, like the fictitious history that the medieval people thought was the folklore history of Britain. I know that's really complicated, but it's really, really good. But it's, it's very intellectual. Or we could do How to Become Dark Lord, which came out. I got it for free as an ARC. It is available May 2024. So it literally came out this month. It's from best-selling author Django Wexler, comes a laugh-out-loud fantasy tale about a young woman who, tired of defending humanity from the Dark Lord, decides maybe the Dark Lord doesn't have it all wrong after all. Both of these are really good. I'm reading Storyland already. You can see that I'm halfway through. So, like,
which one's longer?
I mean,
let's do page count. Oh, it's about the same.
It's about the same. Well, this is a British book, so this one's about 340.
Okay.
And this one is 380. So let's do a poll.
That's less than. I mean, the book we just read is over 400.
I know.
pages.
I know. So new poll. Book next month. And we'll probably do it in, early July, guys, because it's usually about 6 weeks. Okay, so Storyland. Or what's it called? How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying.
I should also say that our old book club, Vaginal Fantasy Romance Book Club show, is still going on. We're just not the host doing a host show, but we do have a month.
It is one of my mods, Sean Sandaluki, continues the group. So if you're into romance, they have a Discord and a loyal group of readers. Really fun.
Yeah, and they have great books. They choose books. People that are in the group can vote as well. So just know that that's still happening. It's just that we're not hosting that anymore. We're doing this, which is all different types of books, whether it's fiction, nonfiction. Like the next time it's my turn to pick a book, I'll probably pick a memoir. I'm reading right now. I'm reading Kathleen Hanna's Bikini Kill. I'm reading her memoir, which is really good because it's Riot Girl years. So that's a book I'll probably pick when it comes around back to me. So we read a lot of different. We read science books here. We read a book about mushrooms. We've read books about poisons. That's my fault.
That was great. We should do a nonfiction book, actually. I mean, after this one, we should do nonfiction and learn something.
I agree. And we've done self-help books, too. I mean, I think Maria Bamford's Sure I'll Join Your Cult was a great mental health memoir as well. So, yeah, we read all kinds of books here. But out of those two, I'm equally into each.
Well,
so it doesn't matter.
69%, 67 It looks like the majority of people are into How to Become a Dark Lord. It's a brand new book, so you're going to have to buy a brand new book or get it from your library, you guys. So usually we don't use brand new books because it costs people more money to get a new book, but we haven't done it in a while. And
Oh,
again,
you
I
can't
would like to read it. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like we're going to read How to Become a Dark Lord and the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. So this will be our
oh,
book
and
for
you
June. My birthday is next month, so that's why I said I'm going to be out of town around my birthday. So we'll
oh,
probably read this first week of July.
okay, my birthday's in July 12th.
I know.
So
So we'll do it
you can
between
make
my
a
birthday and
little.
your birthday, Bonnie.
I know that's the thing. We're summer girls, so we have summer birthdays. Also, if you are a book reviewer that watches our show, just know NetGalley is also not a way you can read books that are not out yet.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's
cool.
as long as you review the books, you in some capacity on social media or something, TikTok, whatever, you can get books that haven't come out yet for free. If you have a library card, you can get almost any book digitally through Libby app or whatever app you're using. So you don't physically have to go to a library if you need a library book. So just I discovered that little fun thing during COVID that you don't have to go anywhere if you are like me and you just sort of never leave your apartment
True.
unless you really have to. You can do digital through your library. Yeah, I'm excited for this because I always like reading brand new books
Yeah, I
because
think
it's
I
not.
try not to. Again, I'd like to do some that's easy to get to books that
Yeah,
easy to get at the library, get in paperback, so it doesn't cost people a lot of money. But I have had this one next to my bed a couple months, and the fact that it came out this month, people can grab it, and I think it's going
can
to
I
be
ask the
fun.
publisher?
So,
Who's the publisher who published it? Who published the book? Does it say on the back?
Orbit. Orbit sends me a lot of
Okay.
preview copies, and unfortunately, I am definitely the demographic for their stuff. So, unfortunately, meaning I don't need more books in my life, but they're there.
I mean, how dare you say that? I still buy books. There's a Japanese word for it. I can't remember. It's on an Instagram meme or a TikTok meme of books. You just keep buying books and they keep piling
It's
up.
a
But
possibility. Yeah, it's okay.
every time people come into my apartment, never fails. Someone goes, "Have you read all those books?" And I'm like, "No, that's why they're there. So I have books to read." That's the point of buying books. You build your own library and then you lend out books you're done with to your friends so they can read.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
you can buy books, Felicia. It's fine.
oh, it's fine. I'm never going to be guilty about buying a book. All right, you guys. Well, I'm going to take a short break. We're going to end the podcast. I'll come back to Stream New Vegas. And thank you so much if you're listening. I appreciate your support or watching on YouTube or watching live here. We love making this show and we cannot wait to see you next month. All right. Bye.